Hey, what's going on YouTube? Quick video on a few things I wanted to talk about. Updates, Jaco Foams, gearing, speed runs, etc. So let's get started. Here are the Jaco Foams. As you can see, the regulars and the low pros. So there's a big difference. As you guys could see, alright, quite a big difference. That's how they look on the car. You know, it's the same as the carbon fiber rims, just with a white rim. So, and you know, they're still, the fronts are still the the purple compound. The rears are the pink compound. Not a big deal. So, little wrap around of the car. Added a few stickers. Blah blah blah. And there's my whole collection of the Jaco Foams. And I have more still coming on the way. A few more sets of fronts and rears. So I think I'll have probably have a lifetime supply of foam tires. So anyway, and in that whole set I have a combination of the low profile and the regular foams. So yeah. Alright, and then let's talk about the gearing. And you know, I'm probably like the last person to put this gearing on here. You know, and I'm still behind. You know, a lot of guys are, you know, doing 27, 28. I don't even know, to be honest with you guys. I just put this on 25, 34 gearing. I bought a couple of the I have a couple spur gears. Got one on here, and then I have another one in my tech box. And then I just got in the 25 tooth pinion. So, and yeah, it's pretty well, you know, pretty well adjusted as far as the, you know, the mesh. Because I know a few people had a question on the whole mesh, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, at some point you see it's got some play, and then if you move it again, it's got a little more, and then right there, it's got like barely any play. But yeah, but it's still, you know, still loose enough to where, you know, it's all good. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention to you guys, I had some trouble putting that bearing inside the spur gear. Okay, I went to go put it in, and it wouldn't fit. Okay, it actually, I take that back. It fit, but very, very tightly, almost to the point where I thought you had to like pressure fit it. You know, I got like a little press and press the bearing in. But before I went through all that, I said, wait a minute, something's got to be. I'm going to try something first. So actually, I put the bearing inside the freezer, inside my freezer here. I let it sit for a good 10-15 minutes in there. Left the bearing out. You know, let it sit at room temperature. Obviously, I'm sorry, not the bearing, the spur gear. You know, let it sit on the table here, room temperature. Took the bearing out, and it fit perfectly. It slid right into the spur gear. So for any of you guys that are, you know, that are coming around to doing this, and you're going to be doing this kind of setup, and the bearing doesn't fit in the spur gear, you know, don't freak out. Just do like I said. Just put the bearing inside the freezer. Worst case scenario, you guys can always put, if it's really tight, you can maybe sand down a little bit around the you know, where the bearing would sit. You know, maybe sometimes the powder coat or whatever paint they use is a little bit thicker. If it's really bad, then I would maybe suggest putting the bearing inside the freezer and then putting the spur gear inside the oven. Take off, you know, this Integ, like this little aluminum cap that comes with it, and just, you know, just have the spur gear plain inside the inside the oven. Put it in there for a little while, you know, and so that way the metal will expand, and then the metal on the bearing will contract. So, you know, then install it, and then as it gets to room temperature, everything will adjust, and you should have a good fit. But so far, just I just put the bearing in the freezer, and it worked out perfectly. So yeah. So I'll put this back on. A little update. Again, I wanted to talk about that whole runway situation. I do have, well, it's still kind of in the works. There's an airport next to my house. Not really next to my house. It's the next town over. It's a small airport. You know, it's not like international airport. And the thing is that the town owns it, and it's still an active airport. So you have planes coming in and out, etc., etc. So I'm trying to get permission to use the runway. You know, with the whole FAA regulations and security and liability and all that good stuff. You know, they're not sure if they're going to let me use it. Okay, so, but the parking lot at the runway, at the airport, is big, long, so, you know, worst case, I can always just, I do have permission to use that, to use the parking lot there, and as a matter of fact, one of the guys that works there, he's really big into this stuff too, so, you know, maybe we can kind of get together and maybe we'll do some vids, you know, stuff like that. So I was gonna do it today, but early Friday morning we got some snow, of course, you know, as I'm putting in these gearing, you know, we got snow, and so not really much we can do about that. So hopefully a few more weeks we should get some nicer weather. Spring's around the corner, and hopefully get some runs going for you guys. So that's just kind of the little overview of the car. So, and I'm still waiting for the whole Traxxas telemetry stuff. You know, with the GPS module, throw that on there. I really want to try to stay away from just kind of putting a GPS in there. You know, I was actually tempted of strapping my phone on there and downloading a you know, a speedometer app and running it that way. But you know, let's see what happens first with this whole GPS stuff. Hopefully that GPS module will adapt right into that existing receiver box and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. So pretty soon, guys, hopefully I should have a running video for you guys. So, but I want to end off, of course, with the shout-outs. You know, you guys know who you guys are. Geo Stealth, Draven, John Racer X, Mum Ford Dale, Neon King, you know, Bulldog Matt, The Real Rudd, Reels World, Fatboy77, all of you guys. You know, the credits are up, so take a look at that. So, all right. So until then, I will talk to you guys soon. Take it easy.